not just talking about adding the first name in the subject line. Let's plan everything. Let's have everything perfect and ready and wait for a year, and then it just never happens.
So some processes that just must be manual.
Operation Automation is ready to launch. Prepare to optimize your business in 3, 2, 1, go!
Hi there, it's Anya. Welcome to the very first episode of the very first sprint of Operation Automation, the podcast that helps make sense of online marketing. We've considered many topics for this pilot, but figured it's best to address the elephant in the room from the start and talk about the channel people automate most often, email marketing.
Today, we're joined by Rosie, marketing automation specialist. For the last couple of years, she's focused on email and marketing automation in the software as a service field. Rosie works directly with product marketing and product development, staying in constant, non-intrusive touch with customers. Rosie drinks her own champagne, automates her own workflows, and makes an excellent introduction to the world of marketing automation.
But before we start, we'd like to highlight one very crucial thing. And this is something that, as people working in the world of email marketing, we hear about a lot. And it's that email marketing automation and marketing automation are the two terms that can pretty much be used interchangeably. Well, it's not really the case, right, Irek?
Yep, exactly. So we need to distinguish between email marketing and automation. So Anna, what is email marketing?
Well, for me, email marketing is a very effective way to stay in touch with your contacts or your customers, to deliver meaningful content to them through a non-intrusive channel. And that's about it. People have been using emails for decades. They're going to probably keep using emails for decades. Nothing's going to happen to it in the nearest future.
Yep, exactly. So email marketing is a marketing channel. And automation, on the other hand, is a process. So this is actually the way you do email marketing. So in my view, automation allows you to collect meaningful data and actually see the big picture. Because if you take a look at individual email send, you very often focus on open rate and click-through rate. But when you take a look at an automation workflow, you can see a series of messages, and then you can figure out, okay, am I getting closer towards my business goal? Where are the bottlenecks? What should be optimized first? So definitely email marketing is a marketing channel. Automation is the way you do marketing.
Exactly. And also automation is a really sure-proof thing to provide hyper-personalization that is very popular these days. But Rosie will talk about it in way more details and is going to provide much more effective proof than you and I can. So maybe let's just jump straight to the interview.
Yep, let's jump in.
Rosie, it's really nice to see you. How are you today?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Cool. It's our second recording. We're very proactive today.
Very productive? Nice.
Very
Great to hear.
Super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being our second guest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting to be here. I love spreading the word, sharing the knowledge, sharing the tips and tricks. So I'm really excited that I can be here with you today.
Great. And to begin with, I have a question that we're going to be asking all of our guests. And the question is, what process or processes in life do you wish you could automate?
Laundry. Oh my God. If there's a way, I swear to God, if there is a way that the laundry just makes its way from the hamper into the water, separates itself into whites and blacks and colors, and then hangs itself and then folds itself and goes back into where it's supposed to go, that would be ideal.
It's actually the second response we have that is connected with home chores. It's very nice.
Feel yours is very specific.
Yeah.
Incredibly specific. So this is a ready product idea. So for those listening, this is the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that one.
Righty.
Be nice for sure.
Here, because we focus on automation, and you are a person who automates a lot, right?
Yeah.
You automate for a living.
I am so brainwashed that I think Ida can attest to that. Everything I get as an idea or a question thrown at me, my first thought is, how can we make this automatic? I just feel like we live in an age where doing things manually, like we're in a factory in the 18th century England, should not be the case, like given you can't automate everything, but to not automate simple tasks and processes and wasting time on doing work manually is just beyond me. Why you would not do that? So yes, you can say that I'm an advocate for automation.
Then, the first question I wanted to ask you is like, okay, for all those people who are still like, in this, like just before the process of automating, so where would you even start? What is like, if you think about all those ways, like different ideas for communication and, like, where do you start? Or what do you start with?
If you full disclosure, I'm an email marketer / email nerd at heart. So my answer will always be start with email.
Cool.
But that's not obviously the only reason. I really believe that email is one of those channels and formats that lends itself massively to automation. And not just because of the format that it uses, but because it's a very easy way to get almost instant feedback from your subscribers, recipients, right? Unlike any other channel, they can tell you indirectly if they like what you send them by opening it and what exactly they're interested in by clicking on the link in your email. So I think if you send out a simple email, you have a blog, for example, you send out a simple email and you include 3 articles. And one of them is about weight loss. And the other one is about interesting events in the summer with kids. And the third one is about the, latest fashion collection by a famous designer. Each one of the clicks on these articles will already tell you something about your subscribers that maybe you didn't know before. And once you have this information, it's really easy to automate and start sending really relevant information to your customers. If someone consistently clicks on weight loss articles, you don't want to be sending them fashion articles. Probably they're most probably struggling with their body image, and you want to help them with that. Not advocating for weight loss here, just an example that kind of came to me. But you know what I mean? Yeah. An email is for me just such a wonderful channel where you can get this information and the subscribers are giving it to you willingly, but they don't feel forced to give it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like the sound of that. Basically, it all comes down to listening to the customer again, to being open to, I'm blanking out on words, being open to using the data that you're giving voluntarily, often unconsciously, but yet adjusting your communication in such a way that the person you are targeting with it really genuinely gets the most value out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That sums it up pretty well. And this is something that automation can do for you and can help you scale from there. I think one of the biggest mistakes and companies and people who don't see a lot of return on investment in email are doing the exact opposite. So they're still calling emails a blast. They're sending out the same email to a list of 50,000 people. And it's like just throwing spaghetti on a wall and hoping that it sticks, right? The more you know your customer, the more you know what they're interested in, the more personalized you can be in your communication. And I'm not just talking about adding the first name in the subject line. I'm talking about really altering what you're sending in terms of information. So like you said, Anna, they just get the most out of the communication with you, which means that they expect it, they open your emails, they read your emails, and from there on, just go down the funnel that you want them to go down to. Right?
This is great because the example that you've mentioned was you could actually start with just a list of email addresses, right? And then if you plan your content right, so based on the, let's say, like 3 blog posts, you can learn so much because suddenly you can like divide your audience into like 3 different segments, and then you can just like even go deeper, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to ask you about your how do you plan automation, like automating processes? Because some people believe that you need some data first, you need to collect some information, and without it, it's not even possible to start with automation. But here, your example was actually quite contrary. So what is your approach? If you could just share a few tips on like basically how to start with automation.
Well, to be honest, in my professional journey, my approach has also changed. And ever since I started working in the SaaS industry, which is what we're doing, I kind of adopted this agile mindset where it's you have the MVP, you have the minimum viable product, and you just go. And you just learn on the go, and you just fix the mistakes, and you just come up with new ideas as you go. I used to be, and personally, in my personal life, I'm still sometimes more of a, let's plan everything, let's have everything perfect and ready, and wait for a year, and then it just never happens, right? So I really changed the way I do a lot of things, but in terms of automation, I think that is the best way to approach it. You just start with the very minimum you have, and then you just kind of scale it from there. If you're just starting right now, most probably you have some kind of online presence. If it's a Facebook page, if it's a one landing page, kind of offer thing, if it's a full website, you have some kind of online presence. So collecting email addresses from that online presence would always be a step 1 for me. Once you have the email address, like I said, you can add it to a very simple funnel where you can start gathering more data about your subscribers. And from there, just start building your list, segmenting your list, sending out relevant information, leading them to the ultimate goal that you have. And this is the second thing, actually, that's super important. Anything really you're starting, but with automation, exactly the same. You have a starting point, but you really need to keep your end goal in mind. Like, don't do automation just for the sake of doing automation. It's not something that is, a hyped up word and we have to have it because we have to have it. You have to have it because it brings you results. So just kind of, instead of, marketing automation is such a big word, like it could be really intimidating. It includes so many things. It could go into so many different directions. But if you start from the end point and you decide, okay, my goal for this year is to grow my list and get 10,000 subscribers, then you can work back the steps and see, what do I need to do to get there? I need to have a subscribe form. I need to get, I'm so bad at math, so I shouldn't have gotten into this example. But if you want 10,000, let's say, okay, we'll simplify it, 12,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So that's 1,000 per month. Okay, how do you get 1,000 per month? You see that you're getting 10 per month. Obviously, you're not going to get there. You need to change something. You need to change your form. You need to add the lead magnet. You just need to test and try to get to that end goal. And your process is going to be different if your end goal is to sell things, right? Your funnel is going to be different. Your emails are going to be different. But always start with the end goal in mind, and then just do the steps that need to be done.
That's cool. That's great. And I'm just like thinking, because very often, I talk about automation from like perspective of like some certain email series, let's say like a welcome series, right?
Yeah.
But you actually, this is great because your approach is like, you look at the goal. You just, you start with like, okay, what do we want to do here? So if you could somehow share your perspective on like a welcome series, like what could be the end goal of a welcome series? What should be the goal behind like, automated welcome series in your opinion?
Mm. I think, again, it depends on where you place email in your customer journey, in your acquisition. If your goal is to grow your list and have tens of thousands of subscribers, then you need to make it as easy as possible for people to sign up. Just one line form with email, obviously the GDPR, agreements and opt-ins and everything, but just one simple thing and make it attractive for them. Create some kind of lead magnet, which will, I promised myself that I wouldn't talk in like marketing slang, but
it's always like, ask you to clarify.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, it's a little bit of a side note here, but I was telling my mom about, what I'm going to be doing here. And she's like, oh my God, but she still doesn't know exactly what my job is. Right. So I was trying to explain to her like marketing automation. And she's like, oh, that sounds so boring. How do you know how to do that? Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. So if I can't explain it to my mom and get my mom excited about what I do, how am I going to tell, thousands of people that this is what they should do and it will work and this is how you do it?
I have a counterexample here because I was just telling the other day my dad that I'm coming here to record podcasts with you guys. And he said, to record what? And I said, podcasts. And then we had a lovely half an hour discussion of me trying to explain what a podcast is. And then he said, oh, like a radio show. And I was like, the truth was so close.
Isn't it funny, though, how, just today's jobs have nothing to do with what it was just a generation ago?
Yeah, that's really interesting. But yeah, my point is that because our parents don't understand what we do, it's probably not the only factor.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people who know what lead generation are, and we cherish our audience, our marketing slang audience.
Exactly. Yeah. But, just to maybe also give some examples. So if you have a blog and you do write about family stuff, family events, maybe, stuff with kids like that, that is kind of your audience, then create a sign-up form that will give them in exchange for their email, we'll give them some gated information. So top 10 ways to talk to your kid so they don't talk back at you or something, something catchy like that, which is not available on your website. It's only available if they provide their email and then you email that to them. That is a very crucial step, which a lot of people forget. So it's very easy to skip that part and just be like, enter your email, you click submit, and then a pop-up shows up and says, here's your download. That is kind of half-assing it, if I may. You need to add this lead magnet download or whatever it is into your email. And that way you ensure that the email is real, that it's going through, that they're opening it because they're expecting it. That gives already a signal to their inbox that they're opening emails from you, that they should be prioritized. It's great for your deliverability. So a lot of bonuses all around. But the bonus for the client is that they get something out of giving you their email. And they already associate you with quality information. So if that's your goal to grow your list, that is a route I would go. Like something desirable, really quick form. And then from there, the welcome email, that is the first one, contains the thing that you promised them. And then from there, I would do, again, like you want to keep those subscribers engaged. It's really important that you don't stop after the first one. If you have one welcome email and then nothing for 6 months, and then you decide to send a newsletter, I almost guarantee you your bounce rate will be above average. Your open rate will be lower than average because people would have forgotten about you. So it's very important to have this consistency of communication. And this is where automation comes in, because you don't have to sit there and try to come up with stuff, for the first weeks, months of their journey. You can have a number of emails prepared. You can schedule them so they go out once a week. And that way, every single person that comes in will go through all of the emails. So I would definitely highlight here that you want to attract people and then you want to keep communicating with them through your welcome series. And then obviously this is like growing your list is a nice goal, but this is not your end goal, right? Like you want them to sign up for events or buy tickets for something, or whatever else you're trying to monetize on. This should be somehow also included, not in a salesy way, I think, in this particular example, but in a kind of subtle way. What is it that your main value is? So that's what I would do. And also, this is kind of it depends on what you are willing to give out as a lead magnet, but also kind of a trick that I've done before. Instead of sending it in one email, so say 10 tips. What was it before? Something with your kid. So then instead of sending everything in one email, you can split it into 10 emails, and you can say, tip number 1 for today is blah, blah, blah. And then the automation continues after one day. Tip number 2 for today, so that already is kind of creating in them an expectation that they will be receiving quality information every day. And I don't want to say guarantee, but it kind of ensures that your open rates and your engagement rates throughout these first week or 7 days or 10 days, a week is 7 days, will stay high. And then you can decide what you want to do and how you want to proceed with that list.
And in this example, if you're sending this automated flow of, let's say, 10 tips to talk to your kid, and then after the 6th day, you see that the numbers really drop. There's less open rate, people unsubscribe and stuff. Would you build your automation flow with this scenario in mind so that people kind of had a chance to drop out before the end of the series?
So this is a very good point you're raising here, because one of the main kind of bonuses of the automation and the way we also encourage our customers to try it and to do it is you set it and you forget it, and then it's doing the thing for you. But like you said, maybe it's not performing well. You need to always be monitoring and adjusting, especially if you're just starting and this is a brand new thing for you. Definitely need to look out for those signals. If open rates drop, then it could be a couple of things. It could be a problem with your deliverability, which is usually something your ESP would be able to tell you if that's the issue. It could be that, they just don't want to wait for so long and you need to be doing 5 tips instead and send them out in 5 days.
I think we need to talk about what an ESP is here.
Okay, so email service provider. Yeah, it's your platform where you send out your emails, and a lot of them, almost all of the ones I've worked with, have some kind of deliverability information. It's displayed in the bounce rates mostly. So if you
also mention what deliverability is.
Oh, okay. See? Hi, Mom. Okay.
The thing is that, it's like you send out
sorry,
emails, right?
Yes. I slipped into email talk. Yes, I'm sorry.
and you want them to actually to just somehow appear in the inboxes of your contacts. But actually, this is it, that you actually need this email service provider to make sure that the emails you send, especially if you talk about those big groups of people. So then comes this deliverability. So your ESP, which is email service provider, makes sure that those emails actually land in the inbox. So I just to clarify.
No, that was a good call. Yeah. So it's a complex thing, because the automation is doing its thing, but at the base of it, it's just sending out emails. So like Irek is saying, everything that applies to newsletters and one-off emails that you're sending applies here as well. They need to be sent, they need to be delivered, and ideally they need to be placed in your inbox, which is not something you can guarantee or influence too much. There's a lot of myths on how this can be done. There's definitely best practices on what to avoid so you don't get flagged as spam. But this is a topic for another, maybe two conversations even, because there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Definitely, it's coming. That's
We
for
will
sure.
invite you. Yeah.
But here, I really loved your example, and actually, you've mentioned that email is, if you think about like growing your email list, let's say, it's actually that you need to think about email as source of valuable information, because very often, like people think about numbers, so it's like, yeah, sure, I have like 5,000, I need 10,000, and emails, it's like, just tell me how many emails should I send. Instead, it's actually a very good idea to think about it as yeah, this is like a vessel for valuable information. And then if you make sure that you have this relevant content, and here probably we could also like talk what does it really mean, like relevant, what do you mean? And then when you've mentioned the goals, if you want to sell something, so I believe that relevant means that something that helps people just make proper decisions, like, is it a product for me or not for me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this is where automation is, and email in general is a part of omni-channel marketing, right? It's not a thing on its own. You do have to, at some point, connect it with all the data points you have on your customer, So if your goal is for your welcome email to sell, and you have a form with, say, a 10% off discount of your first purchase, right? But then you have to be mindful of where you place that offer. If someone is just coming to your website right now, they're just learning your name, and all of a sudden they see this form, sign up here and you'll get 10%. They still don't know what you're selling. But if you are kind of monitoring their movement throughout the website, if you have a pop-up set up that is an exit intent pop-up, so you see that someone's been on the page for half a minute and they are trying to hit the X button, then they get the pop-up that says, oh, by the way, if you order in the next 5 hours, you'll get 10% off. So that has a much bigger chance of being the form being filled out and the person actually converting to a sale. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, just thinking of automation, yeah, you start kind of small and with the smaller goals, but as your goals get bigger and your automation gets more complex, you really need to be thinking about all of these other things. I always say that we need to think as a customer, and all of us are users of products, of services. We're online every day. We know what we like. We know what worked on us, what didn't. And it's subjective, but for the most part, we're all kind of have the same mentality. Yeah. If you're ready to buy and you're not sure and you get the discount, you'll most probably buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. You've also kind of opened the Pandora box here for me when you said omni-channel marketing, because this could be a third topic we would like to watch for.
Yes, I'll just book me here. I'll be here every Wednesday. Yeah,
we'll just make a sprint with Rosie. That's it. Like,
there you go.
Great call, yeah. But let me just try to have one question semi-related to this topic, just to sneak in some omni-channel marketing content in this one. I personally am kind of skeptical about it, as to omni is a lot, basically. And it's a lot of new shiny opportunities that a lot of marketers are still not completely used to. So they would be more willing to jump on them. Like, for example, let's take mobile notifications or SMS. Like, these are less explored functions that we are not using. We haven't been using for the past 10 years. So as an email marketing expert, do you have this seed of doubt that maybe with a spread of omnichannel, email is kind of going to become legacy-ish?
I don't think so, to be honest. And all the reports I'm reading are suggesting that email is not going anywhere.
Cool.
Email in combination with all of those things that you're saying is actually the best way to do things. It just has to be super duper well timed, because you can definitely have a combination. If someone opens your welcome email and in this email it says, hey, is an SMS better way to get in touch with you? And they click yes, then you move them to a different segment and you start to communicate with them via SMS. So again, this is, instead of thinking how many channels can we do? How can we flood them with more and more information? It's just giving the power to your customer, to your subscriber, for them to tell you how they want to be notified, how they want to be communicated with, which helps your communication, because then it will be welcomed, it will be expected, instead of throwing everything at them. So when we talk omni-channel, we're not saying, send a welcome email and also send an SMS and also send a web push notification and also send, a carrier pigeon to their door to, deliver a flower or something. It needs to be well thought out. And then I think it will work. And email definitely still has a place in it. Cool. Especially when we talk, because this is a big part of automation. But again, this is e-commerce, is a whole separate, we'll need 3 podcasts for this. But
we will have 6. This is our next topic.
There you go. But transactional emails is something that is purely automated, and is something that will never go away, because when someone orders something, they expect to receive an email or SMS or some kind of notification, mostly email, actually, that their order has been received, that their order has been shipped. Like, we've all ordered stuff and refresh, when is it coming? When is it coming? So this is a big part of e-commerce that I don't see how it could be replaced soon.
That's great. That's great news for our friend email.
Yeah.
I have a question that is kind of related to something you've touched upon already. Mm-hmm. And kind of when you were talking about data analysis, how you still have to monitor your campaigns in person, no matter how well automated they are. So do you have any other examples of some areas in email marketing that automation doesn't really apply to? So some processes that just must be manual.
Yeah, I think I'm also a big fan of AI. So artificial intelligence in copywriting and suggesting, color schemes for your website, all of this. I really think that's another type of automation that can be really, really useful, especially if you're a one-man band and you're the marketer that does need to create the website, create the welcome emails, create the ads and create the social media. That is super helpful to have that on your side. But that being said, I think obviously the decision making will always be human. Even if because I've had situations where I've run A/B tests and on a subject line, for example, and then the results are really close. So the machine says that version A won because it got 51% versus, the 49% of the other one. So for us, this is not statistically significant a result to trust the machine. If there is other factors involved, it'll be my decision which version actually goes out. So I think that kind of decision making, at least for now, I think will be human. I don't want to say always, because, progress.
I'm really happy you brought up A/B testing, because that was exactly what I was going to use against your argument.
Okay.
See how you played it. I like that. Very nice.
I wanted to go, let's say, back to basics for a moment and ask you about, because you, as email marketing geek, what would you say, what is the impact of automation on email marketing? Because very often, people see it as totally different things, 2 separate things. You have email marketing and sometimes you have automation, and it's there is no link. So in your opinion, what is actually the link, or what is automation good for when it comes to email marketing?
So I would say a couple of things. So there's obviously things, if you want to do a weekly newsletter to your subscribers and you have something that only happens in this week, so you can't plan it, you can't write it in advance, then this is going to be your manual campaign send. But then maybe you want to send it in a specific time zone, which you're not a part of. So then you need to schedule this email. So that's also automation, right? So even in the simplest things you do, there is automation. And I think this is the biggest misconception, like you said, that automation is this separate, big, scary, awesome thing that we all need to be doing. But in reality, in a lot of our everyday tasks, there is automation involved. So
Thank you for saying that. I think we may end the episode here because that's basically what we're trying to do with this podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think that email is very easily automated because, like I said in one of my examples, so you want to have a weekly newsletter, but after some time, you do have all this content that none of your recent subscribers have received because they signed up after the newsletter went out. So I think that in this case, you can just be adding those newsletters to an automation workflow, and everyone new who signs up on your website just starts from the top and receives the first newsletter that you send to your first subscribers ever. And that way they get the benefit of going through all of your newsletters in their own journey, and you're not piling them up as a new subscriber with someone who's been on your list for 6 months and they're receiving the same information. Brilliant. So that would be that's a good way, I think, to think about it. Just think as a customer, and when and what do they want to receive from you. And the minute you realize that you can't deliver the what and the when manually, just automate it.
Cool, thanks. I'm thinking also about like learning, the skill of automation, of automating things. So the question is like, how do we learn this? From your experience, what is the best way to learn how to use automation in email marketing?
Again, I'm just going to say, just try it. You can, obviously, we also put out a lot of resources, a lot of help materials, a lot of video tutorials, even on how to do things. Because there's two things really, like how to do it in terms of strategy, planning, goals, all of that. What do you want to achieve with it? And how to do it just technically, like how do I start? How do I build an automation? Luckily, a lot of the platforms, most of the platforms have moved away from this marketing jargon and using ununderstandable words and terms. And it's in a really spoken human language. So when you start building an automation and you look at the automation blocks, you don't have to wonder what it does. Because it's right there, it says customer signs up. And you drag it to your field, and then you know that this is the action that's going to happen. So it's really easy to go in and just kind of start trying things. If you're not the kind of person that goes in and kind of experiments on their own, a lot of the platforms do have templates set up. And this is something that we run surveys with our customers, and we consistently see that the need of templates, more and more and newer templates, is usually the top 3 requests. And we see that if we have a specific template, it's really easy for customers to just go in and start with it. You can always change it. You can always edit it to adapt your needs, but at least you have the starting blocks, right? You have the main points, which we as a company and any other provider that you're using has tested and based on best practices for sure. So even creating a welcome email, if you're like, oh God, how do I do that? You just go into the template section and it's right there. It's a simple 2-step thing, and you can expand and scale and grow from there. So I would say, yeah, look for templated stuff if you're not comfortable experimenting. But if you are, just have it at just go crazy, just create and test and mess it up and start again. I really believe that this is the best way to see, because again, even if you start as a template, maybe this is not something that works with your audience. There is no template on earth that works across all industries, all sectors, all demographics, all countries. We see this in our work as well. We communicate with our customers in 7 languages. So we often have to make changes, not just to the content itself, but also to the timing, to specific subject lines, because something doesn't resonate with a certain market. So your customers better. best, really. So just use that knowledge and see what works with them, see what doesn't. And if you don't know your customer, you need to step back a little bit and try to learn more about your customer. And again, marketing automation is how you can do it in a very nice and easy way, so it doesn't feel like they're being questioned.
Okay, wow. I've surely learned a lot from this episode. How about you, Irek?
Yeah, the same. That was amazing.
And I really like this final tip Rosie gave, that all you can do during summer really is just experiment, because you don't have much to lose. So I guess the best way to summarize it is just start using automation.
Yep. And as she said before, like create the MVP and just go. So create something super simple, and then don't worry. You will optimize it in time.
Precisely. Slow season is a perfect time to start practicing your automation skills. We don't expect you to create a super complex 15-step scenario that takes every possible customer action into consideration. You don't need to go that big. Even a simple 2-step workflow will already be better than nothing at this point. So it's probably August now, which means you have at least 2 months to experiment before Black Friday begins, and then you can start automating for real.
Exactly.
Rosie has covered a lot of actionable tips for you to try in your next automated email campaign. Make sure to check out the show notes for a quick summary and some useful resources. And don't forget that all of the first sprint is already available at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite shows. No need to wait a whole week for another episode of Marketing Automation Insights.
In the next 2 episodes, we'll dive deep into the topic of customer onboarding, getting started with automation, and paving your way through its seemingly complex paths. Subscribe for more.
Operation Automation is backed up by GetResponse, the marketing automation platform that's been on the market for over 20 years. Subscribe for more juicy insights. And remember, automate, don't complicate.